Tamer Kamel is asking, what is the best way to keep the value of our money?
I think the best way is to increase it. I think keeping it is the wrong goal. When you say I want to hold on to something, so if you have some cash, you should leave it right now. And if you're going to invest in something, I mean, be careful. Go for a very steady. Anyone who wants to start an investment now needs to go with a safe investment. And I would lean more towards the new economy type of things rather than. So, for example, someone will say, "I will open a restaurant right now." Well, okay, can you think a bit more? So, but in terms of handling crisis, I think there's an interesting story that happened back in the 90s from a business standpoint. There was a big crisis in Russia. And I remember very well at that time, both actually Nestle and P&G, the company I used to work with and the company Yasser is working for, focused on building market share during the crisis. They said, forget profitability right now, we're going to build our market share. So after the crisis, we come out winning with the market share. If someone can afford it, that's the play that a lot of the online companies do now, which is going for market share before profitability. Amazon being the obvious example. So that's one way to increase your value for money. The key thing is that not to dip yourself so deep from a profit standpoint that your chase for market share ends up that you are being bankrupt. So balancing this is a good way to do it. So my tip is increase, don't keep.
Yeah.
And I would just to add, I fully agree on the market share. We still do this till today. That remains a number one priority. But I would just add to what Muhammad said that if we're talking about business, the best way to keep the value is to improve and increase the metrics of your value of the brand, the equity of the brand. So again, in these times, it's very tempting if you're doing well to slow down investment, because you will certainly have increased cost. And if you're not doing well, to immediately cut investment. And this is where we always say, while I understand that you will have to revisit and reshuffle your priorities and take every step in a calculated way in times of crisis, you need to make sure you do not compromise the long term. Do not compromise tomorrow because of what you're going through today. At some points in time, you're going to have to bite the bullet. So you're not going to be able to have a perfect picture. You said, Muhammad, maybe you compromise profitability to deliver market share. You will have to make choices. It's not going to be possible, and don't even dream about it, that you basically deliver everything in difficult times. So you need to make choices, but don't compromise.
Those of you who watched the session last time, they heard you say manage for today. In times of crisis, focus on the now, on the today. Could you reconcile those two statements, manage for today versus do not compromise the long term for the short term? So how do you really balance those two things? Because it seems to be much easier said than done.
In my case, it is true that there is a lot of decisions you need to make today. Depends on what you are facing as a business. But we always say, and we continue to repeat, that you need to continue to keep your head up high to see what is tomorrow. And for example, we spoke about today the priority is to surf the wave, come out of this on your feet. Prepare for the recovery in case there is a recovery phase, and make sure while you are doing all this, you're still thinking how you want to become even stronger post the crisis. In this case, Tamer, I think it depends. It depends really what level of crisis you're facing. If you're facing a crisis of you're not able to survive today, then the 99% of what you do is going to be to how you save today. But in my view, it's the balance between what I do today and what I do tomorrow. But what I am talking about is don't compromise tomorrow for today. So in a way, you have to understand that there's gonna be an impact. Just take it, take it. take the punch.
Yeah, I like the point about not compromising the future. And just to give you a couple of examples, when it comes to people, you need to dig into your values and don't go against your values, because that's what will stay with you for the long run. So, for example, it's not about not letting people go, but it's how you let them go. So, for example, if they are supposed to be paid a certain amount of money because they're leaving, or you used to give them support in finding another job and so on, keep on doing these things, because that's what will keep on building who you are as a company or as a person. From a business standpoint, there's a very simple example. Cutting marketing is easy. And if it's not for a long time, you will not be compromising the long term. But what can compromise the long term is, for example, if you decide to lower the performance of your product to save money in the short term, that will compromise the long term. I'm just trying to give examples of what Yasser was referring to. You come and say, you know what, this is the time of the crisis, so I have this product. If I take out a couple of ingredients, people will not notice because they focus on the COVID-19. Yes, but by the time it's done, they will not buy your product anymore because you just deceived them. Right. So I think this gives you a measure of how, and I like the way Yasser said it, which is don't make any short-term decision which compromise the long-term.